Generally, when a composer writes some music, they've got a pretty good idea how they want it to sound. And what they do is, to help us along the way, is offer some performance directions. So let's have a look at what they are. There are hundreds, potentially thousands of different performance directions that you can be given, but generally they fall into three categories. You've got tempo, dynamics, and mood. What I want to do is have a look at each one of them individually, but just before I go on, this isn't a dictatorship, we don't have to follow these instructions, however they are generally pretty good. You can embellish them slightly, so don't feel as if you have to do what's on the page. Use it, experiment with it, and maybe make some adjustments based on how it is that you'd like to play it. Because there are so many of these performance directions, probably the best way to learn them, unless you're cramming for an exam and you want to do a theory exam, one of the best ways to learn them, I find, is just, when you come across a new one, you just look it up. So if you're working your way through your method book and you have a piece and it says, Allegro, I don't know what that means, you go and look it up, whether you use the internet or a book or whatever, that's fine. And you find out what that means, and then you apply that to the music. I don't know what mezzo piano means, and then you do the same thing. And gradually what will happen is it will just kind of sink in and you'll get to know them. Don't get me wrong, I still occasionally, after like 40 years of playing music, come across the odd one that I think, I don't know what that means, and I have to look it up. So, it's something that you'll build up over time. Okay, the first category I want to talk about is tempo. And tempo is just another way of saying what speed you're going to play the music at. And generally there's like two different ways that you'll be, you'll have the speed suggested to you, if you like. The first one's a metronome marking. Now, metronome mark can generally be, it'll probably give something like a crotchet equals 100, which means that if you've got a metronome, you set that to 100, you click play, you listen to how fast that is, and then that's the kind of tempo you'll try and play the music at. Now, generally, again, this is guidance. You may find that that's just slightly too fast for the style of the music, maybe a bit too slow and you want to play a bit quicker, but this gives you a starting point. One of the tricky things you need to watch out for in metronome markings is, tricky is maybe a bit of a strong word. Normally when you see a metronome mark, you see a crotchet equals, and then a speed like 120 or 100. Occasionally you'll see something like a minim equals 60 or a dotted minim equals 66 or something like that. So just don't take it for granted that it's always a crotchet. Sometimes the note value can change. Another thing about the metronome markings is as well, sometimes you'll see a C. So you maybe see something like a crotchet equals C60. The C is just short for circa, which means what they're suggesting is that you play that at approximately 60. I mean, I don't think many people in their right mind would expect you to get your music bang on 60, but the C gives you that option of maybe having a range as opposed to trying to be really strict about it. The other way about getting what speed to play at is words, so you might, instead of having the crotchet equals 120 or crotchet equals 60 or whatever, you might get something like andante or allegro or vivace. Now these are different tempos, they offer up the same kind of information. Generally though, there's a range for these, so andante could be anywhere from, 70 to 90, for example. I don't know the exact ranges off the top of my head, but it gives you some scope to play around with the tempo. There are another couple of sort of tempo type words that you'll see within your music that aren't at the start of your music. So generally, so far we've spoken about the metronome mark and the crotchet equals whatever. We've spoken about the words like andante or allegro, and there's quite a few of them as well. That's at the start of your music. Sometimes within music you'll see another two options. The first one would be accelerando, which basically means to try and get slightly faster, start to increase the tempo slightly, and that's often shortened down to abbreviated to ACCEL or accel, and that's for getting faster. If you want to get slower or gradually slower, then there's two that you'll often see. The first one's ritardando, which is often shortened to RIT, or the other one's rallentando, which is quite often shortened to RALL. So that's just something to watch out for when you're playing. You get your starting speed and you just watch out for any kind of fluctuation in speed within the piece as you play it. Okay, let's talk about dynamics. Now, I've got a whole video on this, which I'll put a card to up here probably, right in front of my face. Just to give a quick overview though, there's two main dynamics, if you like. We've got piano and we've got forte, and then we've got variants of each one of them. Piano means soft and forte means loud. Now again, this is guidance, and it's something that you want to maybe play around with. Now obviously if you see pianissimo written and you know the composer wants it to be really quiet, if you go in and you play fortissimo and play it really loud, then that's maybe a bit outside the scope of what's been looked for. But you know, you would get away with just, I say messing around with, it's a terrible term, but you know, just trying and testing different dynamics at those sections that are marked out. The more modern the music, the more dynamics you'll actually see. If you go right back to sort of Bach and Baroque period, you won't really see much with regards to dynamic range as you move into sort of Haydn. Haydn started to experiment a wee bit more with crescendos and diminuendos. Mozart obviously came along. Then once you get into kind of the swing of Beethoven and beyond, then you'll start to see a lot more range for dynamics. So maybe in classical, you know, you'll maybe see pianos and mezzo fortes and fortissimos. As you start to move into that late classical, early romantic era, you'll start to see like triple F and triple P and stuff like that as well. So you know, the more modern the music, the more range it'll be looked for, which helps you kind of put more emotion through your music. Okay, before I go into mood, if you like the information in the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions or suggestions, please put them into the comments below. Last thing I'm going to talk about is mood, and again, this is generally given by the use of words. A few examples would be you'd have mesto for sad, giocoso for playful, and tranquillo for peaceful. I'm sure my pronunciations are absolutely horrendous, but that's the curse we bear as being Scottish. So these words give you some sort of indication around how to play dynamically and with your tempo as well. So for example, if you have tranquillo marked as the mood of the music, then playing really loud and really fast probably doesn't fit. You know, if you see tranquillo, you're probably looking more for slow and gentle type music. So you know, just try and be logical about what dynamics and speed you apply to each one of the mood words, if you like. Okay, so that's all I've got, and that covers the sort of performance directions that you'll see in music all the time actually. If you like this video, then I've got a bunch of music theory for beginner videos, which you can click on the link to see the playlist, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. Cheers.